Hi, welcome back to another lecture video. Today's topic is psychosis. In case you haven't watched my first lecture video, which was on understanding the concept of a mental disorder, I highly recommend that you watch that video before this one because it will help you understand this topic. To maintain some level of organization, today's lecture video will be organized under the following topics. We are going to define psychosis and then talk about the indications of psychosis. I want you to understand that psychosis is such a broad topic that I may not be able to complete it in one lecture video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this lecture video into about 3 parts. In part 1, I'm going to define psychosis and then let you know the indications of psychosis. It will be like a kind of roadmap. And then in the second and third lecture videos, I'll talk about the positive signs and symptoms of psychosis. And then in the fourth lecture video, I'll talk about the negative signs and symptoms of psychosis. We are starting with the definition of psychosis. It reads, psychosis is a severe form of mental disturbance where an individual experiences symptoms that causes significant alterations to their perceptions, thoughts, mood, and behavior, and can cause them to lose touch with reality. I'm going to read through the definition again, underline the keywords, and then explain the keywords to you. Psychosis is a severe form of mental disturbance where an individual experiences symptoms that causes significant alterations to their perceptions, thoughts, mood, behaviors, and can cause them to lose touch with reality. Let's start with a severe form of mental disturbance. So, psychosis is a severe form of mental disturbance. A mental disturbance, if you like, will be any disruption in how a person's mind thinks or any alterations of the psychological state of being of an individual. That is a mental disturbance. And it says that psychosis is a severe form of this kind of mental disturbance. That means when we are talking about psychosis, we are not talking about the other forms of mental disorders that are not really regarded as a severe form, such as an anxiety disorder, for instance, which is not really regarded as a severe form of a mental disorder, but psychosis is regarded as severe. That means the level of impact on the individual's mental well-being is very high and very significant. It continues that where an individual experiences symptoms that causes significant alterations to their perceptions. Let's talk about symptoms, which is actually signs and symptoms, because some of the indications of psychosis can be seen by other people, therefore signs, and some of them are really felt by the individual and can only be known to other people only when the individual experiencing psychosis tells them. So when an individual has psychosis, they are going to exhibit some signs and symptoms. And these signs and symptoms causes significant alterations. Alterations means changes. Significant means very important or notable changes. So far, we understand that psychosis is a very severe form of a mental disorder where an individual experiences signs and symptoms that causes significant or notable changes to their perceptions. Now, perception has to do with how an individual becomes aware of stimulus, being it internal or external stimulus, but normally external stimulus. So when an individual develops psychosis, they experience significant changes or alterations to how they perceive things, how they perceive the environment around them. It can also affect their thoughts, that is, the kind of things they are thinking about or how they think. It can also affect their mood, how they feel and how they express their emotions, and can also affect their behavior, how they act, how they react, and how they conduct themselves. And all of these signs and symptoms that causes significant alterations to their perceptions, thoughts, mood, and behavior can cause them to lose touch with reality. Losing touch with reality is when the alterations to an individual's thought, perception, mood, and behavior is so significant or so severe such that they are not able to distinguish between what is real and what is not real. So, psychosis, as we have defined it, causes an individual to suffer a severe form of a mental disturbance such that they can get to the point where they are not even able to distinguish between reality and fantasy. Let me use an example to make psychosis even more clearer to you. Let's take an average person like Edward, who is not having psychosis. Therefore, we are tagging Edward as normal. Edward understands that he is a human. He also understands that he has life and then he's alive. He's not dead. He understands that. Edward understands that he's an employee. He's a working class person. So an employee, he knows his capabilities and his limitations. So capabilities, limitations. And he knows he hasn't gotten any supernatural power of conjuring things from the sky, making spells for people to die and all of that. Yeah. So no supernatural powers. We have another person, let's say Jacob. Jacob is experiencing psychosis, so Jacob believes he is a robot. Or maybe he believes he is God. However you define God, he believes he is God. He also believes he is immortal. I hope my spelling of immortal is right. He doesn't believe he can die, okay? He has an unlimited life. He believes he's immortal. He also believes he's a trillionaire, even though he is a basic employee earning average salary. He also believes that he's gotten supernatural powers, where he can decide when people die and when things happen in the world. So clearly, if you take Edward and Jacob and you put them side by side, you can see clearly that the kind of things Edward thinks about is usual. It's something that almost everyone on planet Earth shares. It's something that is real, if you like. Meanwhile, Jacob, who is a human, rather believes he is a robot or he is God. He believes he is immortal. Clearly, humans are not immortal, but he believes he is immortal. He is not a trillionaire. A human can become a trillionaire, but in his case, he is not a trillionaire, but believes he is a trillionaire. And he also believes he's gotten supernatural capabilities to make things happen out of the blue. So he is living in a world of fantasy. So comparing Jacob to Edward, Jacob may be having a kind of psychosis such that he is losing touch with reality and cannot even differentiate between reality and fantasy. That is how debilitating psychosis can be. Alright, we are going to end here. We will continue in another lecture video where I'll talk about the signs and symptoms of psychosis. Please like this video if you found it interesting. Subscribe to the channel for more content and share with others who will benefit from it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Masterminds Nelson. Class has ended.